Before I tell you what I did, you need to understand what Trevor took from me. That oak tree had been in my yard since 1921. My grandmother used to tell me stories about climbing its branches when she was a little girl. It was massive, easily the largest tree on the block. During summer, its canopy cooled my entire property by 10 degrees. Real estate agents had actually told me the tree added measurable value to my home. Now, Trevor and I weren't friends. We weren't enemies either. We were the kind of neighbors who waved and nothing more. But there was one thing he never liked. The branches of my tree extended about 2 feet over the property line into his side. He never knocked on my door, never mentioned it, not once. And here's what you need to know about the kind of person who destroys something instead of speaking up. He's the kind who waits, he plans, and then one Tuesday, he acts. The sound hit me before I even got out of my car. Men in hard hats with professional arborist equipment were dismantling my tree like it was debris. Wood chips the size of my hand littered my entire yard. And there it was, right in the center of my property, the stump. 100 years of growth reduced to a foot of exposed wood. My first thought was that I'd been robbed, vandalized. But then I looked across the lawn and saw Trevor, arms crossed, standing on his porch, watching. He didn't flinch when I looked at him, didn't offer an explanation. That self-satisfied smirk said everything. I won. What he didn't know was that this tree had never been on his property, not a single inch of the trunk. The branches crossed over, but the trunk, the roots, the 100-year-old heart of that oak, all mine, all completely, legally mine. And what he did wasn't trimming, it wasn't pruning. He paid men to fell the entire trunk on my land. No conversation, no warning, no attempt to resolve a dispute like an adult. I called an arborist that same day. The assessment came back. That oak was worth approximately $90,000. That's not a made-up number. That's what certified arborists calculated based on species, age, size, and the property value it added. But the money wasn't what I wanted. The money wouldn't bring back what my grandmother had touched, what my children had climbed. I wanted Trevor to learn something that apparently nobody had ever taught him. Actions have consequences. You don't get to destroy something precious because it's slightly inconvenient. And so, I called a property attorney. But here's what happened next. The lawsuit was just the beginning. Trevor thought he was smart. He claimed he was within his rights to trim vegetation that crossed his property line. And technically, he wasn't entirely wrong. Neighbors can trim encroaching branches. But what Trevor did wasn't trimming. Trimming means cutting back branches on your side. Trevor didn't cut back branches. He hired men to cut down the trunk, the entire trunk, on land that wasn't his, without permission, without even a single conversation. That's not a legal right. That's called theft, and it turns out it's also a crime. The lawsuit named him for property damage, for the actual value of the tree, and for the diminution of my property value without its shade and beauty. 3 counts, 3 ways he'd broken the law. And nobody saw this coming, but Trevor didn't just lose the case. The judge awarded me $125,000 in damages, attorney fees, and property value reduction. The evidence was overwhelming. He had paid professionals to destroy something that wasn't his, deliberately, calculated. Trevor fought it. He appealed. He threw everything at the wall trying to make this go away. But here's the thing about breaking the law in broad daylight. You don't get to pretend you didn't know when there's a paper trail a mile long. The judgment was more than he could pay. His house, the one sitting right next to the stump of the tree he stole, got sold to cover what he owed. He filed for bankruptcy, and then he vanished. I heard he moved somewhere upstate, far from the neighborhood where everyone knew what he'd done. And here's the part that gets me every time. A few months after Trevor left, I planted a new oak in the exact same spot. It's barely taller than I am now. It will take 80 years to become what that tree was, maybe longer. Trevor won't be here to see it grow. Some neighbors thanked me for holding him accountable. Others said I was too harsh. But let me tell you something. Kindness is for people who make mistakes. What Trevor did wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. He made his choice. And then the law made its choice right back. Think about what Trevor lost. He lost his house, his credit, his reputation in the neighborhood. He lost the ability to live anywhere near the place he'd called home. All because he couldn't knock on a door and say, "Hey, your branches are over my property line." The court didn't side with sympathy. The court sided with the law, because what Trevor did was cut down a tree that was worth more than most people make in a year on someone else's land, after hiring professionals to do the dirty work. And here's the part that really gets me. When it was happening, Trevor stood on his porch like a winner, like he'd just beaten me at something. But what did he actually win? He won a bankruptcy filing. He won a court judgment that followed him for years. He won the privilege of starting over somewhere else with nothing. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in front of a sapling that's going to outlive both of us. I'm watching it grow. I'm thinking about my grandmother. I'm thinking about the family that'll sit in its shade 50 years from now, people I haven't even met yet. Trevor's consequence wasn't just legal, it was poetic. He destroyed something irreplaceable, and now he has to live with knowing that he'll never see what it becomes. That's not justice in a courtroom, that's justice in real life, and it was beautiful. Every spring, when the new tree gets its leaves, I think about patience. I think about how some things take a century to grow and seconds to destroy. And I think about how some people never learn that the most expensive thing you can cut down isn't in any store. It's the thing that makes your house a home. If you learned something from this story, hit subscribe. I've got more stories like this one. Ones where people learn that you can't take what's not yours without the universe coming to collect. And if you've got a neighbor story of your own, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. This is a fictional story inspired by real events. Names and details have been changed.